Every big success is made up of lots and lots of little successes. Every big goal is made up of the achieving of little goals on a daily, weekly, monthly, consistent basis with discipline. And if you look at success in business or career, you have to do lots of different things consistently. And today we're going to talk about which I consider one of the most important initial things to do, because without this, you're not going to be able to do all the other things. There's a great saying is you cannot sell a secret. So you can be a great trainer, a great exercise professional, a great lawyer, a great at your trade, a great at your craft. But if no one knows about you, then you're not going to be able to practice your genius on the clients that you want to practice on. I live in New Zealand, and New Zealand is famous for sheep. So where I look out my windows, I can see lots of sheep. And if I look at sheep, I see lots and lots of sheep. Do any of those sheep stand out? And the answer is no. But if in that flock of sheep there was a red sheep or a pink sheep or a blue sheep, a sheep that stands out from the rest, then when I look at that sheep or that flock of sheep, that's the first sheep I'm going to look at. So when I look at exercise professionals or personal trainers and I see a big busy gym floor and I see 10 personal trainers, many times they look like sheep. They just look exactly the same. So the first rule is it's important that you stand out, have a unique selling proposition, a visual difference, because ultimately you are a walking billboard of your business or walking billboard of your product and services. So wherever you go, it's really important not to blend into the sheep, to stand out. But not just stand out, you want to stand out for the right reasons. If I look at the community and I go to the local shopping centre and I look at young kids or teenagers or the elderly and I look at them all, they all pretty much dress the same. So you can stand out from that. Well, there's two ways to stand out. One, you stand out for maybe a negative reason, where you go to the shopping centre and you walk around nude. You'd stand out and go, wow, look at the nude old person, or look at the nude teenager. Now you're standing out. However, that's standing out for the wrong reason. However, if you are immaculately dressed and presented compared to everyone else, now you're going to be standing out for the right reason. So rule number one, make sure you stand out. And people don't know who you are, what you do, how wonderful you are until they get to know you. So the only thing they got to go by initially is what they see. And we call that the first impression. Now, first impression is many times when you connect with someone or contact someone or talk to someone, your smile, how you chat, your positivity, your attitude. But even before that, it's the visual first impression that either gets their attention or they can't even remember you. So when people see you, whether you're in a supermarket or whether you're in a shopping centre or on the street or at a sporting game or a social event, or more importantly, in your area of your career practice, whether that be on the gym floor or the studio, the ultimate question is, what do they see and what impression do you give them? Do they see the naked person or they see that immaculately dressed person and they go, oh my gosh, for a negative reason or positive reason? Because there's the thing called the first 4 seconds. The first 4 seconds is that first impression. You only get one chance to make a first impression. And if that first impression is not, how can you say, attractive, then you'll never be able to connect with that person. If that first impression is negative, then you're never going to get a chance to make a second impression because they won't look at you again for obvious reasons. So that first opportunity, and many times that opportunity is visual. And many times they're looking at you without you even looking at you. I call it making sure that when people are looking for something, they'll look quietly. They'll look in on the side. They're saying, okay, I want to, for example, if I want a personal trainer or an exercise professional and I'm thinking about it, I'll be in the gym on the treadmill looking around and I'll be thinking this question: who am I going to get to help me lose weight, get into shape, have more energy, fight against the disease that I'm conquering, whether it be coronary heart disease or diabetes or mental health or whatever it might be, who am I going to get? So people start looking first. They look first before they make any connection, before they make a decision. So when they're looking, they'll be looking when you don't even know they're looking. They'll choose you before you know they've chosen you. By looking at you, how you dress, how you behave, how you conduct yourself, how you walk, how your attitude is to people maybe around you. So the first step to success, one of those little things that you have to do, but that little thing doesn't allow you to get the opportunity to do the big things if that little thing is a negative. If it's a positive, it's like a key. A key is only a small thing, but a key will open up a big door that will take you into a big house. Unless you have the key that opens up the opportunity to get into the environment where you can practice your skill and your craft and really help someone, then you're never going to get in the house. And that key, the first key, is first impressions. And that in itself will not only give the opportunity to build your career and build your business, but most importantly, build you and build your character and build your self-confidence and your self-esteem. I've been an exercise professional, personal trainer, now for going on 40 years. And in that journey, I've made lots and lots of mistakes, and I've paid the consequences for my ignorance. Today, I'm going to share with you that you will no longer be ignorant. So whether you choose to take on board some of the suggestions or ideas I have, that's up to you. But at least it gives you the opportunity to maybe I should get a new key. Maybe that key, what I've got at the moment, is not working. I need a new key, which means I need to present myself to the marketplace as the marketplace wants me to be, to help them achieve what they want to achieve. When I was young as a exercise professional or personal trainer back then, who did I dress for? Well, I dressed for me when I was young. And me was who I saw in the mirror. I dressed so I can show off my body, my biceps, my pecs, my quads. So my uniform when I started as a personal trainer was all about fitness and being buffed and building muscle. So yes, it impressed me. It impressed me in the mirror. I dress for me, wear my little brother's t-shirt, my little short shorts, and my little trainers walking around. However, the challenge with that is that that may not be what the marketplace or the types of clientele that you're looking for. Now, if you're looking for a client who wants to be buffed and show off all their bits, their biceps, their boobs, their butts and all that bit, then maybe they look at you and go, well, that's the person I want to train with. However, you have to decide what's going to be appealing to the target market that you want to train. So if you want a target market where it might be of more means, with more money, a bit more professional, then they may not be looking for that buffed, bodybuilding, body shaping, figure type person who walks around with little people's clothes on, showing as much skin as they possibly can. And I've suffered that consequence over time. I remember when I was a personal trainer, I had the opportunity where I got my foot in the door in training lots of very wealthy, very successful people in a gated, community full of very affluent people. And I was training a gentleman, and I was very fortunate that many of them took a liking to me. They took a liking to my positivity and my attitude, and obviously they respected my skill as a trainer, because I used to always make sure that my skill was very, very at a high standard. And one of my clients, Rob his name was, after training, and I was going okay as a trainer. Yes, I was doing what I loved. However, I wasn't making that much money out of it. I was just earning enough to pay my rent, put petrol in my car and a bit of food on the table, but not much more than that. But I was young, therefore I didn't really worry too much about money because it wasn't my driving force, but not realising that through life that you will need to attract money to be able to pay for the dreams that you want to pay for, whether that be nice cars, or you want to pay for your kids to go to school or private school, whatever it might be, or buy the things, or buy a house, or whatever it might be. And so I was quite happy doing what I was doing, but not really, informed about how good I can become. And Rob said to me one day after training, he said, so, Kman, how much money would you like to earn? Now, this is back in the late 80s and early 90s, and I never actually thought about it up until then, because I was just happy being poor, I suppose, or happy just getting by, living week to week. And I never thought about it, but I thought, well, that's quite a confronting question, and he expected an answer. So I didn't know what to say, so I just came up with a number I made up on the top of my head, which sounded like a lot of money, which I thought he would like to hear, because obviously he was a very successful man, and he had actually floated his company on the European Stock Exchange for many millions of dollars, and he was retired in a beautiful house with beautiful cars, and he paid me to train him 3 times a week. So I just came up with a number, and I said, oh, $100,000 a year, because at that particular time that sounded like a lot of money. And he said something which was quite confronting to me. He said, well, Kman, if you want to earn $100,000 a year, why don't you dress and present like you earn $100,000 a year? And that was a little bit confronting, because I didn't expect him to say that. And I thought to myself, I didn't say it, I just kept it inside. I thought, what do you mean about presenting and dressing? What's wrong with the way I present and dress? So I actually got a little bit defensive, and I didn't say anything, but I didn't take it very well. I was a little bit, taken back. However, the next morning when I got up to go and train clients, I was getting changed. I looked in the mirror in my bedroom, and I looked at myself, and I thought, well, look at because I was wearing my little shorts on, showing off my magnificent quads from all my powerful squatting, because I was quite a buff young lad in my young days. And I was wearing my little brother's t-shirt, like a little t-shirt, really tight, so I could show my lumps and bumps, and look like a condom full of walnuts. And I wore these little short athletic socks, and I was all buffed up. And sometimes, on a hot day, I'd wear a nice little singlet, because that really showed my serratus anterior, my big biceps, my great delts, and so on. And that should impress everyone, therefore they want to come and train with me. The funny thing is that they weren't coming to train. I was training some people, and I was doing okay. And I looked at myself, and I thought, well, have a look at you big jockstrap. And the word jockstrap is one of those terms used in the 80s for a bloke who doesn't have much brains, who spends all his time in the gym doing sport, because the jockstrap, that's as intelligent as you are. So I didn't come across as the perception that I came across didn't match the reality, because my reality in terms of my intelligence and my academia and my knowledge was quite high, but my presentation was quite low. On the other hand, the reality, it matched my reality that I was pretty poor, therefore I presented like a poor bodybuilding gym junkie type person. And I always remember another time that really sort of slapped me in the face as I was walking across a bridge to a shopping centre called Pacific Fair on the Gold Coast, from where I was training people at the time at the casino, and I was walking by, I was wearing my singlet. It's a nice hot summer day, I was to get a bit of tan, and I still have a little Sports Elite Conditioning logo on. And this more mature gentleman walked past me, who would have been probably 40, and I was in 20 or so. And I was walking past, and I'm walking there thinking I'm impressing everyone. And he walked past me, and he said, he just said a comment as he walked past. And he said, "Steroids, huh?" And he kept walking. And I thought to myself, wow, that was odd. Now, at first, I took it as a bit of a compliment. I said, well, he looked at me and think, wow, look at the size of him and look how great his body is. He must be taking steroids. At the time, I wasn't taking steroids. So I took it as a compliment of my physique. But then I started thinking about, mate, I don't think that was a compliment, because he doesn't look like a bloke who'd really be concerned about being a big bodybuilder, because he looked like a well-dressed, presented gentleman, and he dressed wealthy, so he looked wealthy. He's going to the casino. And I thought to myself, maybe that wasn't a compliment. Maybe that was a bit of a dig at me, because he looked at me and he didn't judge me in a positive way, he judged me in a negative way. And what's really important to understand is that people do judge you by the way you look. If they don't know anything else about you, and they only know what they see, then that's all they got to go by, which is how you look. And as I said, what are they seeing? And people are judgmental creatures. It's human nature. We just judge. And people say they shouldn't judge based on what someone looks like. Yeah, I know they shouldn't, but they do. We all do. And you do, because I hear many times people go, well, I like to sit down on a bench, or sit down in the shopping centre, or sit down on the beach and just do some people watching and look at people. And really, you're not really doing people watching, you're more people judging. Because what you see is that in those first 4 seconds, you make a full evaluation of someone of their economic status or their physique or their happiness or what they do for a job or how nice they are, whatever. You come up with a whole story in the first 4 seconds or so, and then you spend the next half hour justifying it, and many times exaggerating it, because people do judge and they exaggerate. Whether you like it or not, they do. Because when everyone says something to you and it's really out, when you find the reality, then it's not always exactly what people say. Yeah, we call that gossip, right? We already know that 99% of gossip is not true. It may have a tiny thread of truth, maybe a string, but the rest is exaggerated. And we do that. And people, so if you're doing it to them, then they're doing it to you. Understand that. They're doing it to you. So when they're looking at you, what are they judging? And more importantly, what are they exaggerating? So if you understand that, then give them something to exaggerate. If you're naked in the shopping centre, then they'll look at you, then they'll judge you, then they'll exaggerate you on the negative way. If you're dressed immaculately with a good attitude and posture, then they'll judge you and exaggerate in a positive way. Because when we look at people and we judge people and we make decisions about people, or particularly people we don't even know, even many times people we do know, we will overestimate or underestimate how much money they got, how successful they are, how happy they are. We'll do that with their life. Well, yeah, they're having troubles. Oh, they're having fantastic success, whatever it might be. And the beautiful thing with presentation and how you dress and how you groom yourself, then you can actually dictate or control what people see, what they're going to judge, whether it's going to be negative or positive, and then leave it to them. They'll exaggerate the rest, because people will think you, me, and everyone else is far richer than what they are, or poorer, far happier, or far miserable, far more successful or less successful. You ever met someone initially and you made this whole perception of who they were and then you get to know them and you say, wow, I thought you were this, but actually you're that. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. But you, as an exercise professional, you have the opportunity to present yourself to give them a positive thing to judge and a positive thing to exaggerate. When I was walking around in my little buffed outfits and stuff like that, then people judged me negatively. Rob, he obviously asked that question because he probably knew I wasn't doing so well by his judgment and exaggeration of how I was dressed. Now, he got to know me and he liked me and he wanted to help me to make money because he knew how to make money, and he helped me in many aspects of my life to do that. And first part of that is maybe you should present and dress as the person that you want to become. The old saying, be before you are and you will become. So if you want to become a successful, happy, positive, wealthy exercise professional, don't wait for that to happen. Be that now. So start dressing as if you're earning $100,000 a year. Start dressing like you're booked out with clients. Start dressing as if you're very successful. Start walking and presenting and smiling with that attitude of what you want. But start being that now. And I teach that to my martial art students. As you may know, I'm a martial artist and I've won many world championships, and I've trained fighters to win world championships. And the first thing I say is, if you want to become a world champion, you have to start thinking like a world champion, you have to start dressing and presenting like a world champion, you have to start behaving like a world champion, you have to have the discipline of a world champion and the attitude of the world champion. If you have put all them in, be before you are, and if you put all them into motion, then your body and you start to take the activities and create the habits to make that perception of a world champion in a reality by actually winning the world championship before you are. And we call that visualization, and be who that person is now, and then the rest will take care of itself. So I did that when Rob intervened in my life and shared with me about that concept. And when I looked in the mirror and looked at myself, I thought, oh my gosh, look at that. I don't look like a $100,000 a year personal trainer or exercise professional. I don't look very successful. I just look like all the other bodybuilders out there and the other personal trainers, because a lot of the other personal trainers were wearing what I was wearing, little crop tops and showing off their abs and their butts and their boobs and their biceps and their pecs, and they're showing off as much skin as they possibly can, thinking that is actually impressing other people. So I decided that I didn't want to be a part of that group, because I didn't want to be a part of the flock of white sheep where you're fighting for the crumbs when you could be that unique sheep where you're the bread and to stand out for the right reasons, for the professional reasons and the successful reasons. So what I started to do is I started to change my presentation to the world, which started to change people's perception of me. Because they will judge me and they'll exaggerate. So I thought, I'm going to give them something to exaggerate. So I started to change my attire. I started to wear a nice polo shirt with a collar. I started to not show off the big biceps. And you can tell if somebody's covered everything up, whether they be in a suit, polo shirt, shorts or trousers, you can just tell if they've got a great coat hanger. You can tell if someone's in shape. You don't have to flaunt it. Flaunt it in everyone's face to make them feel less significant. Sometimes it's a great saying, if you got it, don't flaunt it, because then you're going to make people feel less significant. And they'll be intimidated by you. So become less intimidating, but more professional. So over time, and don't misunderstand, I actually resisted this over time, but I slowly made those changes, because to be that red sheep in the flock, well, first of all, then you're going to get attention from more the white sheep in the flock who say, who do you think you are wearing a red fleece? Who do you think you are? And that's from the other trainers or your competitors. And the first thing is to remember, you're not there to be accepted by your competitors. You're not there to be accepted by the other personal trainers. Don't worry about what they're doing. Many times, the more they're criticizing you, the better. If they're criticizing you because you're raising your bar and expectation and perception, then they're going to criticize you because you're making them look bad. Therefore, they'll try to pull you down and they'll criticize you. So criticism and cynicism from people who want what you've got or are threatened by what you're doing is the greatest compliment you can get. So if you're drawing that attention, that criticism from your competitors, that's a good thing. But on the other side, you're going to be grabbing attention and you're going to be grabbing the eyesight of the people who will go, wow, that is what I want to be involved in. That's the person I want to train me, because they look professional, they look educated. I remember I was at a gym many years ago in Sydney, and I got there. It's opened up at 6 o'clock, myself and Rory. The lady who opened up, she came late. She was about 15 minutes late. She had bed hair, her uniform was scruffy, and I'm thinking, wow, that didn't give a good first impression on me. Therefore, my thought of her is quite negative. Why? Because she created a negative environment, and she looked negative, and she was dressed negative. Therefore, I thought, well, you know, I'm not going to join this gym if that's my first contact and first impression, which may not be the reality. I don't know what's going on in life. It's not for me to judge. However, that's what we do. I got in there and I was on the treadmill and I was looking, and over the next half hour, all the personal trainers came in. There were 6 trainers, and there was 5 males and 1 female. And I was thinking to myself, if I was a client here wanting a personal trainer, then I'm going to start to look across the landscape to see who I'm going to pick, or who I'm going to engage in, or who grabs my attention and interest. And what was interesting is when I was looking at them all, they all looked like they just got out of bed. They all had bed hair. The men were unshaven. They couldn't be bothered shaving. They didn't look like they had a shower. They didn't look like they on their shirts. They sort of had a uniform, but half of them were faded. They were wrinkly. They were pants. They were hanging out. They had daggy pants on and different odd trainers on, and they looked tired and they looked a bit over it. And they looked like, and I thought to myself, wow, out of these 6 people, who would I pick? And I thought, none. I just have to pick the best of the worst bunch. And unfortunately, that's what happens a lot of the time, that clients pick the worst of the best of the worst. You're average. And there's a great definition of average, where you're the bottom of the best or the cream of the crap, somewhere in between. Well, this session is about making you as successful as you possibly can be. And it's all those little things that added up over a period of days and weeks and months and years that will take you to the top of your pyramid of success. So I couldn't decide, but I did think that if someone was here who's dressed really well, first of all, they looked like they had a shower, they had a shave, they combed their hair, they had a great smile with a great attitude. Smile is the passport to the world. They had a uniform, but they looked like a fresh, clean, bright uniform that is on. They had a name badge on there, and they had good trousers, and their shoes were in condition. And I thought, well, it's not that hard to stand out from a flock of average sheep. It's not that hard. But what I did in my career is I started to changing it up. And I started to look at what other allied health professionals were doing. and they were always taken seriously. A lot of time personal trainers aren't treated seriously, particularly by other allied or medical health professionals or other professional professions such as lawyers and accountants and engineers. More educated people will probably have that disposable income to engage in your services, because we come across, as I said before, maybe as a bunch of jockstraps or bimbos, as the term goes, which is a girl who's really pretty but not that intelligent. And that may not be right, it may not be good, but that's unfortunately how people do. They look at someone like that, be a jockstrap with a girl, you think, okay, you look pretty, great body, but you know, not much more going on in there. And that may not be the reality as I shared. So what I did over time was I started to change my presentation. As I said, I had a polo shirt and a name badge, because no one else had a name badge. And I had a proper uniform with my business logo on there and a name badge. And then I always invested in I started investing in good quality uniforms, good quality shirts, you know, not just the cheap ones you get at the local cheap shop. I started to buy back, and then I was do quality Reebok shirts because they were the brand at the time. And I started wearing long black trousers with a nice leather belt with nice shiny shoes. Now, when I started presenting like that, it was a courageous move, because all of a sudden it's very courageous to put on a red fleece when all the other sheep are white, and then you walk into the crowd and all of a sudden every sheep's looking at you and say, "Who do you think you are?" And now you're the person who stands out. But you have to overcome that weakness of being accepted by the average and try to stand out and put yourself above them mentally and physically in a presentation point of view. So that's how I started presenting. It was quite amazing, and that started not just changing what people saw from the outside in, but it started changing what I thought from the inside out. Now I was dressing for success, and it was just a natural occurrence. Is when you start doing that, you start feeling better about yourself. It's like when you get all dressed up to go to someone's wedding, or you get dressed up to go to a formal or some special event, some gala or whatever it might be. You're all dressed up in a tux, and all of a sudden you go, "Wow, you look magnificent. God, I feel fantastic. I feel great in this outfit." And you're walking around confidently like you're pimping and stuff like that. And that's how I started to feel every single day. And putting a singlet on didn't make me feel that way. Putting a great outfit on with a great uniform and being different and standing out for the right reasons started to build my self-confidence and build my self-esteem. And that in itself started to change my attitude. So I changed this perception that I was giving to the marketplace. And the interesting thing that is one of my favorite sayings: you don't have to be the best to be the most successful. You just have to give the perception you're the best to be the most successful. So I said that again. You don't have to be the best to be the most successful. Because some industries like athletics, if it's a running race, you do have to be the best to be the most successful, because you have to be first past the line. But in this profession, it's not as clear as that. It's very grey, because it's not about absolute, it's about perception. So you don't have to be the best to be the most successful. You just have to give the perception you're the best to be the most successful. And if you give that, people will think you're the best. Therefore, when they want the best personal trainer or the best service, they're going to go to you because you look like you're the best. No one wants the worst. No one wants average. No one wants the second best. I want the best. And if you're dressed and presented and looking at the best, you'll get the first eyesight. You'll get the first point of contact. You'll get the first chance to engage, because they'll be looking at you first. They'll be looking at the red sheet first for the right reasons. Now, the other thing what that does is when you give the perception you're the best, and that in turn puts an internal pressure and expectation on yourself to become the best. Because if you're already given the perception you're the best, then you have to live up to your reputation. Therefore, if everyone's saying you're the best, they're the best, then you go, well, I better actually back that up. So what you start doing is start to act and behave, and you start to learn and fine-tune your craft and get better at your knowledge and your academic studies and all that bit. So everything else starts to build, and then before you know it, your inside reality, which initially doesn't match the external perception, you start changing your internal reality to match the external perception. And before you know it, what they see and what you are is exactly the same. There's a gap first, be before you know and you become. But then eventually I think like a world champion, I dress like a world champion, behave like a world champion, have the habits of a world champion, and before you know it, you won the world championship. And that's what I did through my career in business and in life, as well as my sporting life. I thought and behaved and trained and presented. I've always the best. If you walked into a room, you say, there, that must be the world champion, because they stand there with confidence, they dress well, they look like a world champion, rather than, oh, that must be, who let them in? They look like a homeless person, or they look like a criminal, or they look like a bum, or they look like something you dragged off the street, or something that the cat dragged in. And the other aspect which I'll share with you, which I was taught by great mentors, always be the dressed person, the best dressed person in the room. Now, always be the dressed best person at the party, the best dressed person at the event, the dressed best person no matter where you are. Now that doesn't mean you have to wear a suit and tie to a beach, right? But be the best looking person on the beach with the best towel and the best board shorts and the best everything. And people go, wow, if that's important to you, want to be the best surfer, whatever it might be. So people should be able to walk into a gym and go, well, that's the best trainer, because they look like the best trainer, or that's the manager. Well, that's the boss. And when I was doing professional speaking, I was always taught that when you walk into a professional speaking gig and you're in the room with 100 or 1,000 people, someone should walk in and say, oh, that's the presenter, because they look like the presenter. They're the person we all come to listen to. Be that person. Be that red sheep in the flock, and you get instant. See, that's in itself is great marketing, right? That's the billboard. You're the billboard of your market. They're looking. Therefore, you're going to get the first opportunity for people to look at you, and from there if they want to engage in your services, because you made that great first impression. So that great internal pressure which I was talking about forces you to change your reality to match your external perception that you're giving to the marketplace. And I share that as I said, with my martial arts students, is, when you go to a sporting event, you don't just do it to impress other people, but also to express who you are and the person that you want to become. And I know in martial arts, and there's certain parts of martial arts which is, like the fighting part, but there's another part of martial arts or taekwondo we call the patterns, where you get on the mat and you do a series of technical moves, and you get 5 judges, and it's like judging a martial art dance. And many times it's close, they're both highly skilled. But if you want to make that first impression, you want to get the judges to look at you first, then be the person that they want to look at first. And I see lots of world champions who I know, and when the ladies, when they go on, they'll do their hair properly, they'll put on makeup. Now, having hair and makeup, should that be the determining factor between winning and losing in a martial art pattern competition? Of course not. But if you present better than the other person, then you're going to get the first look of the judges. They're going to look at you first. You're going to look at that red sheep first. And if your dobok uniform is beautifully and it's clean, because when I go into World Championships, I always buy a brand new dobok. So it's crisp, it's bright white, and the belt is neat, my hair is perfect, as you can see, and I walk on, bah, bah, boom, and like this. And the other person may go on like this. And they may be better than me, but at least I get the first opportunity. So many times this is about putting yourself in front of the line, putting your resume on top of the pile. And we teach this with our graduates in designing a resume. Most resumes are white, time used Roman, resume vitae at the top. The same as everyone else. Well, at least have a bright colour. Put it on colour paper with lots of photos and do something different in a resume. Because if the resumes, you want the person looking at the resume, okay, I want to grab the red one first, because all the rest are white and boring. That looks really exciting. So you want to be that person, is the red one, when everyone else is white, in your way you present. Now, be the best dressed person in the room. Now, as I said, that doesn't mean wear a suit and tie as a trainer, but you can. I've had graduates who have created a uniform as exercise professionals, and they wear the long black trousers with the black shiny shoes with a leather belt, and instead of when everyone is wearing t-shirts and polos, they have a button shirt. And in the summer it's a short sleeve button shirt, in the winter it's a long sleeve button shirt. I said, well, that's kind of cool, because you never see a person trying to dress like that. They must be, because if you're dressed like that versus someone who wears a singlet or a daggy t-shirt with shorts and trainers versus an exercise professional wearing a great polo shirt or a button-up shirt with a belt with long trousers and shiny shoes, if you have to ask a question, which one of those two is more successful? Of course, this person who's dressed well. Which one of them has more money? This person. Which one is more academically trained or more qualified? This person. Straight away, because that person looks like they're more academically trained, more educated, more qualified, more successful, more professional. So if that's what you're after, that's what the market's going to at least look at first and engage in first. So be that person rather than this person. And as I shared before, I looked at the other allied health professionals who dress really well. Well, back in those days they do. They're getting a bit scruffy these days, I can see. But physiotherapists and chiropractors and medical professionals, they're all dressed in that very professional manner. That I thought, wow, their perception is, hey, you go there and there's lots of trust with them because they look like they're very trustworthy and they look very successful and they look very educated. Trustworthy is a really important thing. If you hop on a plane and a pilot arrives, walks in, and you're sitting on the plane ready, and they're wearing, they're wearing a Hawaiian shirt with, board shorts and jandals, and they got a baseball cap back to front with glasses, sunglasses, and zinc. Hey, I'm your pilot. You start to think, well, maybe this may not be the right plane that I want to be on that goes up 10,000 meters in the air with this guy. This guy doesn't look like he's a pilot, because how pilots dress. They're dressed in a great uniform. They with a little cap. They need a cap. Do they get sunburnt being the pilot? No, but they wear the cap because that gives that authority type presence and that I'm in control, and they have the little eagle and they have the bars and the uniform, and you go, wow, that person looks like they know how to fly a plane. They look like they know what they're doing. As when if you went to a doctor or a surgeon, and if they're dressed in a singlet and jandals and shorts, you'd start to go, well, wait a minute, this is the cardiologist who's going to give me open heart surgery. I don't know about that. Versus a doctor who's wearing a nice shirt with a nice tie and they have that lab jacket over the top and go, okay, you look like you know what you're doing. So, and that's not to say that the person in the Hawaiian shirt or the person in the singlet doesn't know what they're doing, but they don't look like they know what they're doing in that high level service that people expect, where particularly when it's critical of life and death in a plane, life and death on a operating table, or life and death fighting against coronary heart disease, diabetes, losing weight, getting into shape, because that is life and death. As exercise professionals, I say we are life savers. We save people's lives. So you want to make sure when someone looks at you, you give them all the clues of trust, and they feel certain and they feel you are safe because you look like the person who's the leader. You look like the person who's the go-to person. And all those little things, how you put up your tie if you wear a tie, whether your shirt is ironed. This is my winter training gear. I still train people to this day. And yes, I have my logo there, and it's embroidered. It's not just stenciled, it's embroidered, because I charge a higher level and people expect a higher level of service and a high expectation. It's embroidered. I have my name with results coach. I have the smiley face because we like to have fun, but it's embroidered. My back of my jacket is embroidered because, oh wow, that's quality stuff. Therefore, because I offer a quality service, a top-end quality service. And it depends on where you want to be. I understand if you want to be training bodybuilders and you want to be buffed and show your singlet and beard, and that might be a different market. It's not right or wrong, it's just different. But if you want to capture the trust of the majority, then you have to look like, you present like that trustworthy person. And I always wear shiny shoes, because I was taught that if someone's wearing shiny shoes, that means they take the effort and they have the discipline to shine their shoes. They do the things that most people don't care to do or couldn't be bothered doing. So if that person shines your shoes and has that discipline, then that is a representation that everything else in their life is shiny. Their education is shiny, their service is shiny, their follow-up is shiny, their business acumen is shiny, their professionalism is shiny, their discipline, their time management is shiny, because people go, wow, that person has got their stuff together. There's another word for stuff, starts with S. They've got their stuff together. Look at their shoes. And I always remember a gentleman started training with me and ended up doing some of my courses, invested lots of dollars into me, my services and my courses, and I was doing a presentation, and he came up after he'd enrolled and he engaged me to train him, and he said, one of the reasons why I started to train with you? I said, why is that? He says, because you walk down the middle as you're doing this presentation, because I do a lot of, used to do a lot of public presentations, and I always make sure that I was dressed immaculately. I was the best dressed person in the room. Had a tie, I had a pimpin' jacket on there, and I looked like, even if everyone else is in the room were wearing suits, I looked like the best person wearing the suit. I had the shiny shoes, the shiny patented belt, and I was looking pretty sharp, and I made that effort. And he said the reason why I picked you was because of your shoes. He says, my dad always told me, if you want to judge a man's character, look at their shoes. How they keep the state of their shoes is a reflection of how they keep everything else behind the curtain in their life. They're the real deal. And now I remember another father who taught his daughter, and his daughter shared with me, one of my students, he said, my father taught me, look at the little things. The little things will determine how the person deals with the big things. And what do you mean by the little things? He says their shoes, their belt, their wallet, all those little things, whether they wear cufflinks or not, because all the little things will give a true indication of how they deal with the big things. If they have an eye for detail for the little things, then their big things are going to be looked after. So look for the little things, the things that most people couldn't be bothered. And you understand that success is an inconvenience. Success is an inconvenience. You have to do what the other sheep are not prepared to do, but you will get what the other people only dream of getting, which is all that elements of success. Success is inconvenience. It's all the things that you do that you don't have to do that will separate you from the average to become really successful. And discipline is doing what you don't want to do when you're doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway because you know that's important. And if you're thinking, should I or shouldn't I, that means if you have to ask the question, then you already know the answer. Do the things that you don't feel like doing, and then you become successful. If you just do the things you feel like doing, you won't become successful. And is putting on a nice polo shirt or ironing your shirt or shining your shoes, is that an inconvenience? Yeah, but if you look at the micro time that it takes on a daily basis, it's not that big compared to the massive rewards, because you will be on top of the pile of resumes. You'll be in front of the line of opportunity. You'll be the person to get the first opportunity because you stand out for the right reasons. You'll be the first person that people will look at. And some people may not like it. Some people will say, well, who do you think he is with that tie? And that's okay. Those people are not going to be right for you anyway. And those people probably won't engage in paying for a personal trainer. Because I've had a lot of criticism from bodybuilders and, people, gym junkies that go, who do you think you are? But none of them have personal trainers. And they say, who do you think you are? That's just stupid. You look silly. That's just silly. Interesting, I always remember this time, this is going back to around 1990, 91. I was training this very wealthy lady, Lynn her name was. She's on the treadmill. I'm in this gym, and this is in the early years of personal training. I was one of the first personal trainers in Australia. And I had a uniform, I was dressed when I stood out. Everyone else was in their gym gear. So I stood out, like the proverbial. And I'm standing beside the treadmill while Lynn's walking, we're having a chat, and this little nuggety bodybuilder comes up and interrupts us, and he rudely says to her, you mean to tell me that you pay him to stand here to watch you on a treadmill? And he said that in a very negative way. And she turned to him and she intervened. She said, if he wasn't here, I wouldn't be here. So F-bomb off. And she said it so beautifully. And he was dressed like something that the cat dragged in, and I was dressed like an exercise professional. She was paying me $50 a session, and he was not getting anything from being in the gym. I was getting paid to be there. So it's interesting that when you dress like that, things do change internally and externally, and your reality will start to match your external perception. And when Rob intervened with me about, if you want to earn $100,000, at least look like you earn $100,000, it was only within 12 months of that time frame that I was earning $100,000 a year as an exercise professional. If you do the numbers, I was training anywhere between 40 to 50 sessions a week of personal training, and I was charging $50 a session. So I was earning between $2,000 to $2,500 a week from personal training, which is far more than what it was when I was dressed like a gym junkie. When I dressed as an exercise, because in that time frame, not only did my dress change, but everything else change, because it sends not just a message to the universe or to the marketplace or to my potential clients, but it sends a great message to my inner compass and my inner self-esteem and my inner confidence, and that itself sparked different emotions that created motion to do the things, the little things, that build a business, build a career. And it was the trigger that changed everything, that put me in a position where I was earning over $100,000 a year. And I also started getting contracts with international Olympic sporting teams. Before you know, things started to change up quite dramatically. So if you want to change, then the beautiful thing with presentation is you can do it instantly. Right this second, you can change how you dress, how you present to the marketplace. You can change your billboard. You can fall to the average where everyone, look at the average and dress to them, or you say, look, I don't want to be an average, I want to be exceptional, so I have to dress exceptional. If I want to be taken seriously, I have to dress and present seriously. One of my graduates, Philip, he's taken this on board, and he's just been engaged with the district health board to be involved in setting up community programs and that for them. So he's got this opportunity of a contract with the government. And why? Because he dressed professionally, he dressed immaculately when he engaged in the communication with them. And they looked at him and said, well, he's not just any jock strap or gym junkie bimbo type personal trainer. This person is the real deal. He actually looks like a doctor, or he looks like a chiropractor or a physiotherapist or someone like that, because that's just how he dressed, and that's because that's the group he wanted to be involved in, to be taken seriously at a high level of his career and his business. And many of our very, very successful exercise professionals who own very, very successful personal training studios and gyms, and not just, but they charge a significant amount for their services, but they dress in a significant way. People like Fit Body, Fit Minds, Matt and Sheraton, Cleo and G from Olympia, and you have people like Adam Wiseman and Essential Personal Training. They wear good polo shirts, leather belt with long trousers, with good nice shoes, rubber sole shoes so you don't slip everywhere, and they present well. And people say, how can you train people like that? Well, you can, because lots of professions wear long pants. Golfers wear long pants. In the early years of tennis, I used to play tennis in long pants. They squat. But remember, it's not you as an exercise professional doing the workout. You're there to coach them, guide them, motivate, inspire them, teach them, and all those things to do the exercise. You're not there to do the exercise. And if you look at some of the great sporting stars, the real marketable ones, and how they present, obviously on the field, they're always dressing really well in their uniform, but off the field, they always present to the marketplace in a very professional manner, whether it be looking at the All Blacks where they're at a function, they're wearing their suit and ties, or they're on the bus or off the bus, they're always dressed immaculately. If you look at Ronaldo, the soccer player, how he dresses to market himself. So he's not just a soccer player. Michael Jordan's not just a basketballer, he's a professional basketballer, a professional soccer player, a professional rugby player. And if you can market yourself off the field with your brilliance on the field, then there's more to market, because you're going to be a great role model for the up and comers. They say, oh, Lord, that person looks successful, and they are successful in the field, but they also look it, and the two match. And I can market that by the results they get in that. And if you take that on board and start to think, how successful do I want to become, and who is my marketplace, and who do I have to become, and how do I have to dress and present to the marketplace to give that first impression, be that walking billboard that people will go, that's the person I've been looking for. That's the person I need to help me. That's the who is going to help me lose weight, get into shape, fight diabetes, overcome mental health, fix up my coronary heart disease, get my knee better, rehabilitate this. That's the person, because you look confident, you give me confidence, you look trustworthy, I trust in you because the way you adapt, or how you act, and how you present, and how you dress, and how you give yourself out to the marketplace. And obviously that's the key to the door. Once you get in the room, you have to back up that perception with results, and that's where you have to make sure that you know your trade, you know your craft, you can fulfill the promises that you're giving to the marketplace with results. And that's why I've always been dedicated to continue on ongoing education and growth and skill development, so I can back up my perception. So where do you stand? You can take this on board or not, but remember, everything you do, everything you say has a consequence, and that consequence can be a positive consequence or a negative consequence. Everything you do either builds your character or deteriorates your character. Everything you do either builds your reputation and perception or deteriorates your reputation and reputation. As the great Warren Buffett says, you can spend 20 years building a great reputation and you can destroy it in 5 minutes. And reputation is really important, how you present yourself to the marketplace. And that's not just how you personally present yourself when you're walking. It's not just when you're on duty, by the way. You know, it's not just, many times I've gotten clients when I wasn't in uniform, when I wasn't doing my craft, when I was just happened to be at a restaurant or cafe or a coffee shop, and I just started to engage in communication. I always remember I was sitting at a coffee shop where I used to live up there in Auckland. I was just sitting having a coffee, and this gentleman came up to me who was one of the waiters, and he said, "Excuse me, sir, do you mind if I ask you a question?" I said, "Certainly." He says, "Do you mind sharing with me what you do?" I said, "Why do you that?" "Because you look like a very successful, influential person, and I want to become very successful. So you look successful, so tell me about you." And I was sitting there, and it was my day off, and it was a cold day, so I had a button-up shirt, I had a nice scarf, and I had an overcoat, and I had long trousers, nice shiny shoes, because I'm famous for my shiny shoes, and that was my casual attire. And people say, "Well, it's your day off, why are you wearing that?" Well, to me, there's no difference of putting on tracksuit pants or putting on nice trousers. There's no difference between putting on a nice button shirt versus putting on a singlet. There's no difference. There's no difference between putting on a tracksuit top versus putting on a nice jacket. There's no difference in putting on nice shiny shoes than there is in putting on trainers. They're pretty much the same. People say, "Aren't you uncomfortable?" No, because I buy things that fit my body and they're comfortable. The only difference is they're comfortable and I look great and people think I'm great by that perception. Versus I'm there in my jandals with my cargo pants and my camouflage singlet and my hoodie and my baseball cap and being relaxed, but really no one's going to be taking any notice of me, and if they do take notice of me, they're not going to take me too seriously because I'm not really dressed very seriously. My point being is that gentleman engaged in my services after that, and I started to do a bit of business with him, and I would get lots of clients just when you don't expect it, because wherever you are, you're the walking billboard. And remember, people will be interested or curious about you, therefore they'll find out more about you. So it's not just when you're walking about, but also be aware of when people have a peek behind the curtain. Make sure your backyard is all clean, not full of doggy poo. Make sure that behind the curtain is all cleaned up. And what I mean behind the curtain, it's easy now for people to look into your window behind the curtain. I remember a gentleman basically wanted to work with me. He put in an application, we had an interview, and he was dressed really well, he behaved very well, and he's saying all the right things. And I'm always very skeptical. People will say what they have to say to get the job, but then soon after you reveal that what they say is not necessarily always the truth. They say they do everything possible and they don't. But that's another story. But I was curious, and that particular time Facebook started coming in, so I decided to do a bit of research on that person, to look behind the curtain through the back window. And the back window was, what did I see on Facebook? So what I saw on his Facebook page was him, getting drunk, photos all over, getting drunk without hardly any clothes on, seeing how much he can drink, full of vulgar language. And all the photos of the Facebook page didn't match the professional person I wanted to be in my organisation and pay them a professional salary for it, because I think, wait a minute, who's this? This must be his homeless brother, that party going, drug drinking brother. But it wasn't. So what he presented here wasn't here. So make sure that these two match. So before you start present yourself, or you're going to present yourself to the world, make sure you clean up your backyard or behind the curtain, which might be your Facebook page. When people do a bit of a check on you, make sure what they check. One of my clients who trained me for many, many years, trained me 3 times a week, Matt his name was, he's a very successful businessman, and he started engaging in my services. He's 3 times a week for many, many years, and he said one day, he said, there's many reasons why I train you. One, because who you are. It's not just about my skill, but the person I am. He wanted to be in that positive circle of influence. But he said, I did do my research with you, because he's actually in the area of law and investigation. So he did a full background check on me to see if I was the real deal. And he says, when I found that behind the scenes you were more than the real deal, then this is the person that I'm happy to pay, what I have to pay to be in your circle of influence. So make sure your backyard or the behind the curtain is cleaned up so the front matches the back, and eventually they will become so close, then you have a very transparent life, being who you are, giving out great messages to the world, helping great people, having a great career, being that proud to be that red sheep in the flock, and proud to get the negative attention from the average people and get the right attention from the great people, and then you're going to have a great successful career. See you in the next Kman.